Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, a while ago I put up a video called ID 2020, which I'll link directly below in the description below this video, so you can go and have a look at it separately. Now, what is this all about? Well, I actually had a live stream earlier today with Teresa, who was on the streets of Melbourne with a placard that said "All Lives Matter." And it was very interesting because the youngsters were all saying Black Lives Matter and they were calling her a racist, whereas the elderly people were saying, yeah, all lives matter. There is clearly an indoctrination through the education system of the youth of the world, not just Australia, all over the world. Look at America. Go no further than that. Now, the other part of this indoctrination is to do with this coronavirus and how you're going to be tagged to see if you are safe because you've had a vaccine. Well, there's a very interesting article in Zero Hedge which needs to be put on the record, because what is called Kovi Pass is coming to South Africa. It's one of the countries that is going to be implementing what's called Covi Pass. Let me tell you exactly what it's all about. Kovi Pass will determine whether you can go to a restaurant, if you need a medical test or are due for a talking to by the authorities in a post-COVID world. Consent is voluntary, but enforcement will be compulsory. Through the magic of internet meme culture, most millennials will be familiar with the famous opening scene of the 1942 Casablanca, where two policemen stop a civilian in the old Moorish section of Nazi-occupied France and Morocco and ask him for his papers. The subject is taken away at once after failing to produce the required documents. The cinematic exchange has been used ever since as a popular reference to the ever-encroaching hand of the state, which is now on the verge of attaining a level of control over people's movements that put the crude Nazi methods to shame. A British cyber security company, in partnership with several tech firms, is rolling out the Covi Pass in 15 different countries, including South Africa. This is happening across the world, a digital health passport that will contain your COVID-19 test history and other relevant health information. According to the company website, the passport objective is to safely return to work and resume social interactions by providing authorities with up-to-date and authenticated health information. These objectives mirror those that Bill Gates has been promoting since the start of COVID-19 lockdown. In an essay written by Gates in April, the software geek cum philanthropist lays out his support for the draconian measures taken in response to the virus and, like an old-timey mob boss, suggests the solutions to this deliberately imposed problem. Ironically, Gates begins to make his case for the adoption of mass tracking and surveillance technology in the US by saying that, for now, the United States can follow Germany's example. He then touts the advantages of the voluntary adoption of digital tools so we can remember where we have been and can choose to share it with whoever comes to interview you about your contacts. Kovi Pass promises to work as digital health passport, allowing users deemed uninfected to attend public gatherings among other privileges. So these are now becoming privileges, not a right, it's a privilege. This is how the rights are being taken away from the man in the street by stealth. This is the deep state, or the New World Order, whatever you like to call it. This is kind of becoming quite scary. Let me continue. Gates goes on to predict that the ability to attend public events in the near future will depend on the discovery of an effective treatment, but he remains pessimistic that any such cure will be good enough in the short term to make people feel safe and to go out again. Now, who's putting panic and fear into people's minds? Remember when the coronavirus first came out and the mainstream media were saying, look at all this alternative media putting up these terrible things which is putting fear into people's minds. Now, why aren't they saying the same thing when Bill Gates says stuff like that? Anyway, let's continue. These warnings by the multi-billionaire dovetail perfectly with the stated purpose of the aforementioned Kovi Pass, whose development has also been carried out in partnership with Red Strike Group, a sports marketing consultancy firm that is working with England's Premier League and their project Restart to pass ticket sales and only make them available to people who have tested negative for the virus. VST Enterprises Limited, or VSTE, is led by 31-year-old entrepreneur Louis James Davis, who very recently stepped down from a science and technology ambassadorship in the African nation of Zimbabwe to focus on the company's role in the United Nations SDG, or Sustainable Development Goals, collaboratory initiative, comprising a series of cyber technology projects across 193 member states of the United Nations, which is all nations who are members of the United Nations. These will use the same proprietary V-code and V-platform technologies underpinning the Kovi Pass that will reportedly tackle issues such as illegal mining and counterfeiting. This third-generation barcode technology overcomes the limitations of older second-generation versions like QR codes, according to Davis. Data and sensitive information scanned or stored in either a QR code and barcode can be hacked and are inherently insecure, Davis claims, leaving data and personal details to be compromised. These and other flaws of the prevailing proximity apps were exploited by VST Enterprises to position itself to land large government and private sector contracts. By all measures, the strategy has proven wildly successful, and VST now enjoys strong favour in the highest circles of the UK government, as evidenced by the ringing endorsement of former Prime Minister Theresa May, prominently displayed on the Kovi Pass website. More practically, VST now has a direct partnership with the UK government and has secured contracts to deploy its technology in 15 countries, including Italy, Portugal, France, India, the United States, Canada, Sweden, Spain, South Africa, Mexico, United Arab Emirates, and the Netherlands. In May, VST signed a deal with international digital health technology firm and owner of Covi-Pass, Circle-Pass Enterprises, or CPE, to integrate VST's V-code into the biometric RFID-enabled passports, which can be accessed via mobile phone or a key fob, which will flash coloured lights to denote if an individual has tested negative, positive, or is to be denied entry to public locations. Awarded the Seal of Excellence by the European Union, V-code technology will ensure that all of our most sensitive personal and health information can be accessed by authorities at a distance, dispensing with messy and potential dangerous face-to-face encounters with police or other enforcement personnel. So far, the concerns over the digital health passport threat to freedom and privacy have been lukewarm at best, and it seems as if the world has already accepted that full-fledged population control methods such as these will simply be a fact of life. While the coronavirus pandemic has certainly done much to bring the public over to this way of thinking, the campaign to normalize this sort of Orwellian power grab has been ongoing for many years, and Bill Gates, who many media outlets have whitewashed out of stories related to these measures, has been at the forefront of its promotion. That's what you call fake news in the mainstream media, by the way. The Innovation for Uptake, Scale and Equity is in Immunization, or INFUSE, project was launched in Davos, Switzerland in 2016 The program was developed by an organization funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation called Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, which has been calling for a digital health ID for children along with partners in the broader ID 2020 initiative like the Rockefeller Foundation and Microsoft. So what they're talking about is these super wealthy individuals basically controlling everything. We'll all be living in tiny little houses. If we don't have families, that's just perfect for them because the family unit represents strength. And what they want to do is break down people to just weakness. This is what's going on behind the scenes around the world today. And you've seen it. Look at the divorce rate. It's absolutely incredible. Anyway, let's continue. In a recent interview, the deputy director of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Hassan Damlouji, derided the idea that the COVID-19 pandemic was in any way subsidizing and even warned that, far from receding, the pandemic was deep into wave 3. His remarks were specifically targeted to the very regions he oversees for the foundation, which include the Middle East and parts of Asia, which he stressed would be the focus of the next wave. Damlouji was most recently involved in a 5-year fundraising cycle for Gavi, an effort led by Saudi Arabia, whose investment he praised as a powerful signal that others had an obligation to follow. Gates concludes his editorial with a comparison to World War II, stating that said conflict was a defining moment of our parents' generation, as the COVID-19 pandemic is to ours, implying that the changes taking place now are akin to the Allied forces' defeating of the Third Reich, except, of course, that immunity passports or digital health certificates sound exactly like what Hitler wished for the most. After all, wasn't the idea of a superior race based on considerations of superior health and vitality over the ostensibly sick and unfit? Hard to argue against the idea that a universal health passport is nothing less than the ultimate fulfillment of that dystopian nightmare. So guys, I don't see Australia amongst the 15 countries at this stage, thank God, but it looks like if you don't have this Kovi Pass, they're going to start putting restrictions on your movement to places like restaurants or stadiums and things like that. This is absolutely disgusting. This is Big Brother personified. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe.